On the Epstein didn't kill himself segment this week, and this is the part of the show where we remind you that the government has always done what they're doing today. They're just doing whatever the bad thing is again. And much like Epstein didn't kill himself, they're not doing this for the first time. Let us be the first to remind you.
Let us.
So humans, according to a new study, may be fueling global warming by breathing.
Not our fart stain?
How's that sound, David? That sound not at all remotely global domination controlling to you?
It seems like a problem we can easily fix, you know? Because have we ever really asked the big question, Dane? Do humans need air? Do we absolutely? Is there something else we can suck into our face holes and breathe into our lungs that's even better than air? Let's try water first.
Yeah. I think there's a way that we could create an apparatus that reconfigures molecules to create the thing that, I don't know if that will work. We'd probably still breathe out carbon. No, everything.
Okay, so water was a bad start. Okay, I'll take that one on the chin, so to speak.
Yeah.
But let's try name another gas. Methane.
Nitrogen.
Maybe we should start breathing the cow farts.
What about helium? Then we can all sound like...
we all sound like we're from the Lollipop Guild.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Could you imagine trying to be intimate, though?
Hey, baby, come on over here.
It would make for an entertaining world for all of about 48 hours, and then we'd all want to kill each other.
You know what would be more fun, though?
What?
Can I get a... That's how high it would go.
Yeah.
That would be more fun.
Yeah. Audio people, you're going to want to watch the video on that because...
Roll down your windows. The glass might have gone on that one.
Yeah, no joke. And you know, God forbid somebody's listening to this in the gym, you know, where the headphones are just a bumping and they're like, oh, these guys are kind of funny. And the next thing they're bleeding out of normal people. Like...
I don't know about you.
Some normal people.
What kind of workout are you getting? Listening to two ponyaks talk about politics.
Great stuff, because we make them angry, because the world is an angry place to be.
Okay, well, if that's your motivation, then awesome. Keep listening.
Yeah, right. It takes all kinds.
I just need music to makes me want to kick a puppy maybe, and then I just lift heavy weights instead.
Anyway, the Epstein moment that we're giving to you here is all throughout human history. We're not even talking about our overlords today of how terrible and shitty and feckless and just completely morally inept they are. But all throughout human history, you have had the predators and the prey in terms of human beings that are useless parasites that do nothing, but they want to, you know, harness the extra product produced by those people that are doing something to make themselves wealthier, more comfortable, or whatever the case may be.
Which is why we chose this segment, because Epstein was a predator.
Yeah. And the people that killed him, because he didn't kill himself, were the biggest predators of all.
And you might say all the people that visited his island were.
Anyway, there are tons of examples of governments treating their citizens and people around the world as expendable, because they don't really look at any of us as, you know, valuable, unique souls in our own right that are worthy of dignity and respect. You are a means to whatever their ends are. So whether they want to throw you into the meat grinder of war, or they want to, you know, back when slavery was a thing that government supported, which was like 95% of all human history, they wanted to use you to produce things that they didn't have to work for. And history just, again, proceeds in this fashion again and again. Sometimes as the cultures change, the methods and modes change as to how one group preys on another group in humanity. But it doesn't really ever change that whole mentality of the haves, in this case, the elites, the ones that think that they know how to run your life better than you do. And if you don't listen to them, you're just a stupid rube who belongs in a cage, if not killed. And the have-nots, those of us just trying to go about our day and pay our bills and take care of those we love, and generally try to find, you know, happiness. in our short existence. That's the course of human history, and that's exactly what this quote unquote new study is pointing in the direction of within the context of climate change today.
Well, if you need any more information, I just wanted to caveat that with, you're just a number to them, which is why you have a social security number that they identify you with.
Yeah.
You're literally your social security number to them. That's why, and when you start asking yourselves, like, how could they do this? It must be for the greater good. No. Like we said, 35,000 feet. They don't even see you down there. They're just like, yeah, we'll just throw all of you into the grinder if it bumps up our portfolio percentage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because
hence war.
Like dystopian movies sometimes, they'll have this idea like, oh, it's a totally dystopian future when human beings have like barcodes on them. We've commodified human beings and all of that kind of stuff. And it's like, baby, that ship has sailed. Your barcode is, as David said, your social security number. You are a series of zeros and ones in a computer to some bureaucrat that has, half of your IQ, but because they sit in some special fancy office in DC and the rest of us ants, to use the analogy of A Bug's Life, that have refused to use our numbers to stand up against these people, they have the power that they do simply because we've done nothing about it. But these people have been doing this to us for eons, and it's not going to change until we do something about it. I've been completely digressed away from the present day topic that we're here to discuss here, but I feel like this point is worthy of being driven home because there are way too many people in our society who think very naively that our betters, right, our overlords, the people that command all of us what to do, are really trying to do what's in all of our best interests.
Right.
And that, they make mistakes like every human being, but, we have controls for that and we can just vote the bums out, so to speak. I think that the last couple years should be ample evidence for you to disabuse yourself of that notion, that view of the world. But in case you still needed any more examples, just listen to this here podcast and we'll give you examples on a weekly basis for why these people are completely irredeemable and not worthy of any of your respect.
Well, the reason I brought that up was exactly that, but I wanted to short and sweet it by saying that if you think that they don't mean what they said, like your breath is hurting us and we need to get rid of that, that's why I brought that up. You're a number to them. If you think that, they'll never get rid of us, Bill Gates has said it multiple times, like, there's too many humans on this planet. We can't support this much life. It's like, they've said it over the years, but they haven't come out and said it. Now that they have this, they're like, well, we clearly have to do something because global warming. We're doing this for the greater good of humanity. So we're going to off all you people that aren't as important as us. Yeah. Right?
I mean, some of them
dystopian, but they're saying it out loud now. Still,
some of them have said out loud, and some, in papers and just communications amongst themselves, they didn't think was going to get out. Many of these elites think of the mass of us as quote unquote useless eaters.
Well, to be even-handed here.
David's going to see both sides for the elites.
Even-handed. There are a couple of us out there that are pretty.
Yeah, it's primarily them.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
But they think that they don't, and they're going to throw themselves on the bonfire.
Of course. They have the power. Why give it up?
They're not going to be eating the bug burgers with us. No.
Right.
They're at 35,000 feet.
Yeah. So returning to the article that was the impetus for this week's Epstein segment, New York Post article, quote, humans may be fueling global warming by breathing, according to a new study. So what the study that was released last week in the UK journal, and this was an article I think was like published at the end of December, so it's a couple weeks old, but this is an evergreen topic. Was released in the UK journal PLOS last week, said, quote, exhaled human breath can contain small, elevated concentrations of methane and nitrous oxide, both of which contribute to global warming. And if you're a longtime listener, you probably recall David and I saying this. And to those of you that are new here, let this be the first time. It won't be the last time that you hear that. Is that we have characterized the whole climate change cult, and that's exactly what it is. It is a cult, as the target being you, right? Like we always say, no tyrant ever comes out and says, I'm going to do this to you because I'm an evil bastard. They always say, I'm doing this to you because it's in your best interest. You just don't know any better. And so I'm going to impose this on you because in the long run, you're going to thank me for it. And that's what the climate change cult is always about. It's, well, we have to stop all these greenhouse emissions because we need to protect life on Earth. And there's going to be an extinction level event, and the human species may not even survive. Again, consider what we just said about, the long history of these people looking at the vast majority of us as expendable, and consider that when you take into account of whether or not you think that they truly have your best interest in mind. But nonetheless, that's their claim. And what we've always said about that is purely cover for the true agenda, which is you're expendable. And not only you're expendable, there's way too many of you. And if they had their way, there would be far, far less of you. So the quote unquote carbon
just
emission,
enough to fill up their cars for them and get their food for them,
or the carbon emitters that they're trying to limit is not planes and cars and oil rigs or anything like that. The carbon emitter that is the true focus of their plans is you. That's what they want to eliminate or reduce to any extent they possibly can. And now they have a study that backs it up, because by simply breathing, you contribute to climate change. So
good going.
If we need a massive genocide to, cull, 50% of the global population, so be it. It's good for the planet.
Well, again, I always love these little. How much time did? Okay, let's just take a rough guesstimate. How much time do you think it took for them to plan and execute that study, that experiment?
Oh, I mean, a few days or weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They just took the exhale samples of a few hundred people. That's all.
So
not
at least
difficult.
It wasn't difficult. It wasn't difficult. Again, they took the time to do that.
Yeah.
And then I just hearing the topic first said, "That's cool. Are you aware that there's a gigantic desert full of burning tires in the Middle East? Are you aware that India exists? What about China and all their smog and pollution?" Again, there's always all these things that the United States, that most of the developed European countries are always held to the standard. But then you press people that talk about this, and you're like, okay, so after we invest the billions and billions of dollars on all the things that you say that are going to reduce the amount of carbon that we emit, what's the overall change in all of the carbon that we emit throughout the world? If all of these countries do everything that you suggest, what's the overall change? I believe it's something around 0.01% change. So that's a whole hell of a lot of hard work, money, to literally not affect the problem in the slightest. However, what would do something for the CO2 emissions would be, I don't know, provide third world countries that are emitting all these CO2 productions or whatever they're doing to emit the CO2. Why not advance them a little bit? Why not put, like you said off mic, nuclear power plants there, Dane? So they don't have to burn coal or burn whatever the fuck they're burning to stay warm. They can have electricity, clean, for eons. But you said there might be a problem with that, though, Dane.
Yeah, the thing about a nuclear plant is once it's built, and it produces energy for a long time, and it's not something. I mean, yeah, you need the you need to create the rods to keep the power plant going and producing electricity, but it's not like constantly shipping coal or natural gas or oil to them. It's not a returning customer, as we like to say. So, that's why nuclear is demonized, because it is
It's a
real
viable
world,
solution.
tangible, viable solution to whatever it is they're concerned about. Again, if you grant them their premise, right, that CO2 emissions lead or are first in the causal chain of global warming, as opposed to the other way around, where the Earth warms first and then more CO2 is released. If you grant them their premise that CO2 is causing the global warming, we got a solution. And a viable solution, a scalable solution.
And all we ask is that you make this podcast viable. Oh, and then by the way, there are some side effects to these nuclear plants. And the side effect is that everyone within its radius of power emission, their lives automatically get exponentially better. That's a side effect we just can't have.
Yeah. No.
Oh God, we can't have that.
No, because if people's lives are better, then they procreate more, and then there's more
God,
people emitting more CO2.
Fuck! Oh, we're right back where we started, Dane.
Yes.
God, all those breathers.
Yeah.
We should do something about those breathers.
Yeah. We should.
And
Make them stop breathing.
There's the fault in our stars. We try to give them too much. You give a mouse a cookie, it's going to want a glass of milk, you know?
Yeah.
It's going to want to breathe more air.
Yeah.
Drink more milk.
So now, the next time you see a seemingly insane headline, like we've covered on the podcast before, where literally within a couple weeks of passing legislation that all cars in the state of California need to be electric by 2030, a couple weeks later,
Rolling
the
blackouts.
Energy Authority in California tells all of the current electric car people, which is like less than, I don't even know, it's like 2 or 3% of the cars in California are electric. Within a couple weeks of passing that law, they're urging electric car drivers not to charge their cars at certain times because the grid can't handle it. So when a small fraction of all of the people that they're demanding have electric cars by 2030, let's set aside the monetary hurdle
Remember
with that
the CO2
a lot
taxes?
of people can't afford that. When this small fraction overloads the grid, these geniuses think, well, if we have everybody on the grid, then everything will work out swimmingly. The next time you see articles and headlines like that, and you think, wow, these guys are either really dumb or they didn't think this out very far. That's true. But what's also true is that that's part of the plan.
But actually, no.
The plan, the plan is to make your life as difficult and impossible as possible. So either A, best case scenario for them, you kill yourself. That's one less carbon dioxide emitter. But if you won't kill yourself, then
we're not calling you to kill yourself. We're not saying don't do that.
No, I'm saying
call for help if you think
the leaders want that. Not
exactly.
us. We are not. No, call a hotline. Don't do that. That if you don't do that, that you'll be so impoverished and your standard of living will be so much in the tank that you won't even countenance having kids. And then fast forward a little bit, and what's that we're facing right now?
Extinction.
Population collapse in all of the developed countries of the world. So again, is that part of the plan? Is it not part of the plan? I don't know. But the point is that if you stack enough coincidences on top of each other, and all of those coincidences just happen to push in the same direction, which is an anti-human worldview that wants less people on the planet and wants the ones that are on here to be more subservient and controllable and less malleable than they currently are. If all the coincidences point in that direction and it's the same people calling for the same stuff, I suggest to you that, again, you're the target. It's not about saving you. It's not about making your life better. And it sure as hell ain't about saving the planet. It's about controlling you because you're a piece of shit and they hate you. And the only thing you're good for is to make their lives better.
Well, that
your life doesn't matter.
Don't forget that they're trying to impose a CO2 tax. So now they'll literally be able to breathe. They'll be able to tax you for breathing.
Yeah.
How many breaths did you take last year? Oh, we're going to have to add that up. Oh, are you sure you counted all your breaths? Did you take off your monitor for a couple of moments? We see in January the 22nd, you removed your monitor for 2 seconds. We're going to add that. It's at least 2 breaths. All right. Now the IRS is going to come and arrest you for
It'll be
breathing
like,
too much.
what's that movie with Justin Timberlake
Yeah, the
where like
time
the
thing.
currency is
I was thinking about
time?
that too. Yeah.
So the currency will be like how much CO2 you emitted.
How much can you breathe each year? It's like,
Yeah.
how many breaths do you have left?
If
Oh,
you
that got
breathe
dark.
less, you get more currency than you just, scan like, I'm a good non-breather. I hold my breath a lot. I can afford to go out
I
and get
pass
this
out
dinner.
3 times a day because I'm American, goddammit.
I can afford to go out for my fancy dinner of green sludge because, I hold my breath for half the day.
I'm doing my part. Anyway, all that being said, I can't wait to be taxed for my breath. And
Yeah.
imagine if you have stinky breath, so that's methane and CO2. Boy, howdy.
Methane and CO2 and nitrous oxide. All 3.
You're fucking up, bud.
You're a triple threat of climate change.
We got to get rid of you, mouth breathers.
Yeah.
Oh, dear God.